be home by 9. Hell, I tell her that most of the time. Whoa, baby, don't know, won't hurt her too much. Whoa, I'll tell her where, but I won't say what. Oh, now I'm dancing, oh, I'm dancing. I'm dancing with the devil. Oh, now I'm dancing, oh, I'm dancing. I'm dancing with the devil. Oh, pour me a whiskey, oh, vodka.
What have we got going on today? Well, it's a balmy 34 degrees, I believe, right now, which means that I can stand to be in the shop. So what I'm going to try and get done this weekend is finish this tabletop and this tabletop bench work. So what I'm doing is I'm putting in some T-track so that I have a movable fence that will go along with my miter saw. Now, I ordered a bunch of this Rockler stuff 10 days ago. Actually, it's been more than 10 days. Most of it showed up. Some of it has not. They've got my money. UPS has been here multiple times since. UPS can't find the package. Rockler says I have to wait 10 days. I'm going to make another call to them tomorrow morning and hopefully figure out where my stuff is. But that's what my plan is. And when I originally set this up, I have always wanted a radial arm saw. Right now I've just got this, standard miter saw. And I've wanted one of the older vintage 1960s DeWalt miter saws, radial arm saw. So I've been watching the interwebs, hoping to pick one up on the cheap. There's been several out there, but of course, it's local area pickup only, and I'm not going to drive to the state of Washington or Pennsylvania to pick up a radial arm saw. Well, I finally found one. I got it ordered, and it's being shipped, and that was a little pricey, but overall, I think I got a good deal on it. So early next week, I should have a radial arm saw that will go here, which is what I've wanted. I might have to do some changes to this bench. I think I can use about 90% of that. I think my legs will be okay. The only thing I'll need to do is maybe cut a new top for the saw to rest on. And then the actual sacrifice top that will go on the saw itself. That will hopefully be next weekend's project. But that's, this whole thing here is pivotal, very important, very important to getting the bench work started and making the process of cutting things for the layout the way I want. So that's order business number one for this weekend, is to try and get as much as this done and ready for my radial arm saw that will be here next week. Now, I've also got this, which I picked up. I just thought, why don't I put a nice countertop for my workbench in the layout? So I've got this, and if I get finished with the miter station, I might go ahead and start building my workbench for the train layout. I haven't decided yet, because I would really like to use the radial arm saw to build it, just because it would be the first major project with the saw. But, you know, that would probably be another 2 weeks away before I could do it. So I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I've got the first fence complete, and I think it's gonna work pretty good. So just loosen these knobs up here, and then the whole thing can slide back and forth, because I'm too close that you can actually see what's going on, but you know, it moves back and forth. I've got a couple of stops back there so that you get it set where you want it. You can just bump it up against there. And there you go. Because eventually, when I get the radial arm saw, there'll be a movable fence system with it that these will be able to move back and forth with. And then you can also use other T-track items here to clamp things on and whatnot. I also, you know, the part of the order that still hasn't showed up is a measuring system that comes from the blade of the saw across the top of the fence, and then you can set your distance so you can have production stops and saw things over and over again that are the same length. But now I'm going to get started on the other side, so I've got an identical fence on that side as I do over here. This is exciting. Well, at least it is for me anyway. I'm quite eager to make use of this thing. I've cut one little 1x4. I've got a production stop kind of produced there with some hold downs. I'm kind of messing around with the idea of going ahead and building the workbench for the train layout. I can't decide whether I want to go ahead and accomplish that before I get the radial arm saw or wait another probably 2 weeks. The process will be easier and better with the radial arm saw once I get it set up, but I'm not going to fool myself into thinking that that's going to be something that I can do in 1 weekend. I think that's going to take 2 weekends to do. But nonetheless, there it is. And I tell you, my father would be quite happy. He never had anything quite that cool. I think he would approve. Most of the tools underneath there are his, that I inherited. So all of the major tools are the joiner, the lathe there, the drill press, table saw, band saw. So, and it doesn't look like it, but there's a workbench in there somewhere. And there's also probably most of the bench work for staging. So I guess just keep watching and we'll see what happens next. This is my first official mail call of the channel. I figure everyone else does it. I'll go ahead and give it a shot at least once just to see if it's as fun as everybody seems to make it out to be. So as you can see, it's a DeWalt Power Shop. It's a model 1400 10-inch radial arm saw. I thought that it was gonna come with the table, but apparently, well, not apparently, obviously, it didn't come with the table. So that's gonna be a little extra I'm gonna have to do, which, you know, I was gonna redo the table anyway, but all the videos I've seen on YouTube has people duplicating the holes from the previous table on the saw. So I won't be able to do that. I'm gonna have to figure it out on my own, I guess. I also have this Craig track stop system. It's a measuring system, and I can't install it until I have this installed. I've done my initial assessment of the saw. It's in, I would say, good condition, I guess, for the age. I believe this is a 1960s saw. There's a few things. Right here, this screw has been broken off, which is part of what holds this cap on. This side is okay, but I lost that one somewhere over there, which is the story of my life. All of this works good. That is what enables you to spin the saw for an in rip or an out rip. There's another one down here. This one was frozen, but I did get it loosened up. That tilts the saw this way. The main thing is this right here, this crank got destroyed in shipping. It definitely was there when I purchased it in the pictures. Probably gonna have a hard time finding a replacement for that, and I'm relatively sure that there's nothing that can be done about it now. I don't know if you noticed in the mail call portion, the pallet that it was shipped on, that's what it was shipped on. Terrible. My guess is that somebody with a forklift couldn't use the forklift the way it was designed because of the poor pallet, and the whole thing just ended up falling on the ground and breaking. But I mean, I can probably, I think there's an Allen wrench there, Allen screw. I think I can pop that off, and who knows, maybe I can manufacture something that'll work until I get lucky enough to find a replacement. Another little cosmetic thing, there's a button here. That's your on button. That's your off button. There's supposed to be an orange off button that didn't come with it. But it runs, and it runs well. When I first kicked it off, there was a terrible wobble in the blade, and I thought, oh no. Not only is it missing a hand crank, but maybe the actual arbor shaft is also bent. But I loosened up the blade, and I can run the blade loose on the shaft, and you can see that the blade, I'm sure the blade is bent, because if you run just the blade without the shaft running, that same wobble's there. So I won't know for sure until I get a different blade, but I certainly can't use that blade. Also, there was supposed to be a drop leaf that did not show up. I've got the angle arm bracket to hold the drop leaf on, but the hardware that actually supports the drop leaf that connects to the frame there, it didn't show up. Nor did the wrench for the arbor bolt. So And I did go ahead and email the guy. This came from Pennsylvania. I guess maybe I should be lucky it showed up at all. But with some work, it's going to be a good saw. So what I've got left to do now is to go ahead and start work on, I think I'm going to do this bench tomorrow. I don't know. I may start on the bench here so that I'll have more accurate measurements to work on that one over there. That's probably what I should do first, because I have to have a top for that to know. And I could do the measuring. I think I know what will be, but I would rather have it on there and kind of do my measuring after it's there. So stick around, see what happens next. After further inspection, I have determined that this column, and you can probably even see it here looking, is just a little bit cockeyed. It's about a quarter of a bubble off of being level on the bottom side there. I'm thinking maybe that this got dropped in shipping, because it doesn't appear to be out of plumb in the pictures when I purchased it. So that's extremely frustrating, because I did pay a fair amount of money, not, like anything crazy, but to have it shipped and then have it be busted up before it ever got here. But I'm gonna try and see what I can do. I might be able to shim the bottom of this and bring it up a quarter inch. I've got a book, but it doesn't talk about adjusting any of this, nor have I found anything on YouTube. So I'm just gonna kind of wing it. So I've got the tower removed, and you can see there's plenty of adjustment there. So I'm encouraged, because I was a little concerned that it was so damaged that I might not be able to get it plumb. I think that's not going to be an issue. All in all, the machine is in really good shape, I would say. The only bummer is this right here. If that was working, that elevation crank, then I would be tickled pink. Motor runs really good. Got all this cleaned up. It was a nasty mess. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the table that this goes on. I'm going to have to do some adjustments, get that table completely level, put this on it, attach it, make it permanent, make it square on the table, then add the tower, and then the table, the actual sacrifice table. So, of course, it's late in the day. It's going to be another weekend before I get to any of that, so wish me luck. Now, just looking at this table here, I'm definitely going to have to redo it. I think I'm off by 6 inches, give or take, on the height. This is too high. I think, I don't know, I probably even if I cut everything off down there at the bottom, if I made it flush right there, I might still not be low enough. So I might have to even completely redo the legs to get it to work like I want to. But like I said previously, stick around, see what happens. I'm gonna get busy doing some stuff. section, which this ended up being about the most flattest surface I had. You know, you're supposed to glue it up on a really flat surface, and that's the best I could do. Of course, I'm not going to be making $10,000 cabinets or anything like that, so all in all, hopefully it will work. Weekend 2. It's a beautiful northwest Oklahoma spring day. The wind is howling outside, but it's comfortable in here. So I'm gonna get started. I've taken measurements of this table, and it's right at 8 inches higher than what I need for this table. So what I'm gonna have to do is take the new D-walt, put it back on my janky table, and then recut these boards here. I did not glue any of that because, you know, I thought maybe in the future I'd be able to find one of these. I didn't know how close in the future I would find one, but I got lucky, so I didn't glue any of that. It should come apart pretty easy, and I think I can reuse everything, maybe even the cross pieces, because I don't know how important it is that the width of this table needs to be the same width of that table. I'm gonna have to think about that before I actually go through with it. But that's what I'm getting ready to do, is deconstruct that and get the height of that table where it needs to be, which is right at 30 5/8 inches. The height has been adjusted. Thank goodness my measurements and calculations were fairly accurate. The arm saw table it's perfectly level right now, but it's just temporary for the moment. You can see this table over here doesn't meet this table, but it's also running downhill to the right there, so I'm high on this end. Again, it doesn't really matter at this moment, you know, as long as I'm within, you know, 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch anywhere, I'm gonna be good, because I do have leveling T-bolts at the bottom of these. And so that's the next thing I'm gonna do, is I gotta figure out exactly how this table, the sacrifice table, fits on the radial arm saw table, get that all on there like it's supposed to, and then kind of figure out everything else from there. So that's the next step. There is today's progress. I went ahead and left the table width the way it was, primarily because I didn't have any more 30-inch pieces of MDF, and I think it's gonna be fine like that. I don't have it all plumbed and ready to go. I still have to do work on the back side. There's, you know, 7 inches back there that you have like a 2-inch strip and a 3-inch strip, and then your 3/4 inch fence. That probably doesn't equal 7 if you do your math, but it's something like that. And then you start making your measurements to make sure that your saw is aligned to the table. I put a shim in, you know, if you'll remember from the previous segment, this was cockeyed real bad. When I got it all tightened back up, it was better, but it was still leaning forward, and it still is just a little. I just put a shim in the front of the tower there, and it took most of it out. It's still well within the bubble. I'd like it to be a little more level, but I think for what I'm gonna be doing in here, I can live with the way it is. But, I'm finished for the day. I'll come back and try, and maybe I'll actually be able to cut a board tomorrow if I get lucky. I've got the table plumb with the saw plumb with the table. Everything's ready to go. The only thing I have left to do is actually put the sacrifice board on top so that you change it out instead of the whole table. The spacers for the back side of the saw, those have dried overnight. They're ready to go on. Just have to slide them back there. I've got a fence that I'm going to use to begin with. I'll probably come up with a little better fence than that eventually. Right now, I just want to get, I'm very eager to saw something. So here you can see that the whole table is running downhill just a little bit. That is equal, if I can do this, it's kind of hard, because out here, that metal piece on the very end actually hangs down beneath the arm. But you can see they're nearly identical. So that when the saw tracks across the top of the table, it should be the same depth regardless of whether it's back there or out at the end of the saw. And to be honest, it's going to go down a little bit just because of the weight of the motor, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. So what I'm going to do is I've got leveling feet on the front. I'm just going to tilt the whole saw backwards with the leveling feet until everything's absolutely level, and then slide it back, and then level my outfeed tables to the rest of the saw. It's not quite perfect, but it's good enough for model railroading. I haven't got everything leveled yet. There's probably another hour in making sure that this is level by the support table, and then lining up both outfeed tables. I really wanted to get that done this weekend, but work just called. So I have to go into work. I'm one of those people that carry a phone, and when they say you have to come into work, you have to come into work if you want to keep your job. So I'm not going to be able to finish this particular project this weekend because it is the end of my weekend. But I'm gonna get this finished early next weekend, which won't be next weekend because I have military next weekend. So it's gonna be another 2 weeks probably before I can begin working on the workbench for the train layout room. But I got a lot accomplished. I'm very pleased with the saw. Works quite well. Might need a few more tweaks to it before I'm 100% satisfied with it, but it's definitely an improvement to what I've had before. The workbench here, I'm very happy with the way the whole thing's gonna turn out. So stay tuned Like, share, subscribe, and thank you to all of you who actually watch my videos. As it turns out, work only needed me for about 5 hours. So I managed to come back and get this all situated. One of the first things you might notice, it's kind of weird, is the bench work that holds up the saw is kipped back, and that's because I made the table level. As I mentioned before, you know, I had to do some adjustments with the table to get the actual work surface level. It works really nice. I've got a dip in this board here. Not much I can do about that at this point. So it kind of comes across here and then once go down and then come back up. But I don't think that's going to cause me too many problems. And I think eventually when I get this wall sheeted, I'll probably go ahead and attach these benches here actually to the wall to provide just a little more lateral stability maybe that I don't have at the moment. It's not bad, but I'd like it to be a little more stable. But there it is, all finished, ready to build a workbench and bench work.